All right. Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Joe, KC0OIO, from St. Paul. Bob extended an invite after he saw that I was doing this presentation at my home club last month. This is actually the fourth time I put this one on. So, I'm president of the Stillwater Amateur Radio Association. Have been for 3 years now, and been licensed since November of 2002. And upgraded, made it up to extra in 2005. So. I also happen to be an appointed assistant director for MAP, P0BBC, the Dakota Division director. So, anyways, like I said, I've done this. This is the I put this together at the request of Skip Jackson, KS0J down there at C-Mark. He invited me down to put this on. And I've done it for them in February, May. I did it in St. Paul, October in Stillwater. Actually, I did it twice in Stillwater because I did a dry run the first time I put it together. But anyways, this is on FT-8, and I know that's kind of a you know, it's the hottest mode out there. No matter how you look at it, either it's hot because people don't like it, or it's hot because people love it. So there doesn't seem to be that much of an in between, although that's getting better. All right, popularity. This is only, I think it was first released in August of 2017 when it first came out. As you can see from Club Log, their data is showing it went from 0 to better than 50% of the contacts being made in under 5 months, or just over 5 months. Compared to, you look at FT-8, I believe is doesn't really tell me there.
All the yellow?
I think it might be all the yellow. It's all yellow. Then the green is single sideband, blue is CW, and then the other digi modes coming in there. And those spikes that you're seeing in there, I think you can tell those are contest weekends. Yeah. So that's from Club Log. You know, we're going to go back in history a little bit. I mean, how long have we been hearing this? You know, you're hearing FT-8 is killing ham radio. Yeah, it's not. It's another mode. It's something that's good. And, the question is, do you love it or hate it? How many have tried FT-8? Okay. The nice thing about FT-8 is it works anywhere from QRPP to 500 watts. I've seen somebody saying they were pushing on it, and keep in mind that FT-8 is not necessarily a low power mode. It is a weak signal mode. All right. Interesting article, a blog posting from Gerald K5SDR, who is the CEO of Flex Radio recently. He titled it FT-8, the tipping point for ham radio. And his opinion is that FT-8 is the very heart of what amateur radio is all about. The innovation and the method of enhancing amateur radio. The art of radio. And this is interesting. What will ultimately kill amateur radio is not FT-8. FT-8 is an example of what keeps it alive. Will help keep it alive. What will kill amateur radio is if we cease to innovate, become old and grumpy, and no longer bring new blood into the hobby. This is coming from a guy who produces a pretty damn good radio. He's got his fingers on the pulse of the business because he's doing it. And here's one of his final statements. Amateur radio is well and alive and well. FT-8 is just one element of keeping it that way. I think that's what people need to keep in mind. It's just one element. The reason it's so popular is where are we? We just talked about it. Where's our propagation right now? And people are still able to make contact with FT-8. Maybe it's not. I heard the CW worldwide, the CQ worldwide CW 2 weekends ago did not go well for the CW folks.
Is FT-8?
FT-8's not a contest mode.
And that, the weekend you referred to?
Yes,
was
yes,
the-
FT-8 was working
Okay.
real well. I shouldn't say FT-8's not a contest mode, because actually right now, it started at noon, is the first FT-8 serious contest going on right now. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit here. So FT-8, officially the general availability version is version 1.9.1. I say the general, officially the general release one, because they're working on, or release version 2 is in release candidate 5, less than 2 weeks away from full general availability. And that's what they're running the contest in this weekend. And so, anyways, WSJTX has a long history as WSJT, and then it became WSJTX. It's open source software. It was developed by Nobel Prize winner Joe Taylor, K1JT, and it helps facilitate two-way contacts when you've got weak signals. It originally developed in 2001 for meteor scatter and VHF. Everybody knows the story behind Joe and his Nobel Prize winning. It's in physics, and it has to do with quasars. I don't know the exact details. So he's been dealing with weak signals. I think he got that back in the early 90s when he received the Nobel Prize for that. He's dealt with weak signals, and he's had amateur radio as a hobby. So he put the two together, and he's a big EME guy, big meteor scanner. So he put this program together as a tool that everybody could use to facilitate better contacts in those challenging conditions. Meteor scatter, probably, I've never done it, but it's probably going to be very difficult to have a successful QSO and meteor scatter. And Aurora would be another one. So there's 9 different protocols in it, and it's optimized for the different frequency range and the type of propagation. We have the thing to keep in mind, and this is one of the things that people don't like, the biggest complaint that people say is it's not designed for long conversations. You want to keep them short. You want to get the contact, confirm it with a signal report, and that's all. It concentrates on efficient exchange at lowest possible signal noise. Now, for a valid QSO to count for the ARRL for any of the awards, you need to exchange the call sign and the signal report. That's it. Any other information that you exchange is extemporaneous to what is called a valid QSO by the league. There are 4 slow modes. If anybody's done any JT65, which is very minimal nowadays, but JT65 was a 6-minute exchange, between the start of the exchange and the start of the next exchange. There were 45 seconds of data. It still is 45 seconds of data, 15 seconds to decode and decide who you're going to contact, and then you go on to the next one. And 3 fast modes. Now these are fast comparative to the program. MSK144, which is developed specifically for meteor scatter. JT9 and ISCAT, and these are meteor scatter. And anybody ever tried or heard of airplane scatter? You probably have done it without really knowing it, because the radio signal will bounce off the skin of an aircraft.
Problem is that where it lands, there's usually not someone receiving.
You don't know that it's happened. It's it's a propagation mode that exists, but nobody really can document that they had it by an airplane scatter. It's really tough to do. And here's the short bursts of usable signal strength.
So when you set up for speed, will the other stations that aren't set up for that speed adapt to it?
No.
So
they have to be running the same. Both sides have to be in the same mode, and there's no automatic mode switching.
And are there particularly popular speeds? And
FT-8.
Well, Yeah,
Each mode has a speed
Each mode has a speed.
associated with it.
Yeah,
It's
and depending
fixed.
on, and it's,
FT-8 just has one speed?
yes.
Oh, okay.
It's not like PSK where you
Well,
get
when I saw all
multiple.
these numbers, I thought you had to
Yeah,
pick a
no, these are
speed,
different, these are different modes, and it's more to the type of propagation. Like I
Yeah,
mentioned, I'll go back here, if you look at, MSK 144, that is a meteor scatter mode.
right. But, and then you say selectable transmission. Receive
They have,
frequency.
I haven't played with this, because
Okay.
I don't do, I'm kind of focusing,
Yeah.
but there is the ability to select your transmit receive sequences in these modes.
So, but you both have to be set up for the same,
I can't answer that,
Timeframe.
I can't answer that.
Not really, not on
Not really.
MSK
Yeah, I think-
144, you
Oh,
I
don't.
think once it's.
But
they've
the longer
recognized-
you transmit, the more chance there is that the receiving station's gonna pick you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. But it's the same modulation no matter what, it's just how long.
It's probably also depending on how good the meteor,
yeah.
the efficient, the scatter is, the dust trail is that you're bouncing off of.
But JT8 is one set of protocols and that's it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. It's a 15-second cycle,
yeah.
and you can,
And everyone else is doing the same thing
Yep.
exactly.
yep. Okay, other things in WSJT-X is the whisper mode. I heard people talking about whisper. That's incorporated in it. You can go out and see what's happening there on the whisper net and on the map. Echo mode, if you're doing EME, that's where echo mode comes in. It's to test your station, how well your station's doing. And all of them except SCAT, which is another meteor scatter one, have strong forward air correction. And that's the big thing about it, is the air correction that's built into these modes, which are weak signal modes, is what gives them the success that they have. All right, so the new mode that was added in I think it was 1.8 and then 1.9 was FT-8. Yeah, there it is. Came out in 1.8. It's a slow mode, and this is from the documentation on Whisper, or on WSGT. It's a slow mode, figuratively, but it's much faster, or less slow.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it. There was nearly instant acceptance, even in the beta releases. As a matter of fact, it was the #1 mode in the CQ 10-meter digital contest 3 days after its first release. It was still in beta. I think it was RC, might have been RC3 when they did that, when they released it. 3 days later, CQ Worldwide 10-meter digital contest, the #1 mode. It's a collaborative effort between Steve Franke, K9AN, and Joe Taylor, FT-8. I don't know what I'm not sure what the 8, I think it's 8 tones that they use, but I'm not sure what the F is. It's not like a WD-40 where it was the 40th attempt. The 40th attempt at the formula before it worked. If you didn't know that. It's easy to use. It's copying signals down to 25 dB in 1.9. I think they've improved that. Might even get down even a little bit lower in 2.0. And we'll talk about a little bit about that. It's a very narrow bandwidth, less than 50 hertz. And it's fast in as far as words per minute. It's about 12 words a minute. Full QSO exchange is less than 2 minutes. Actually, it's a minute and a half. Versus the 5 to 6 minutes using JT65. And then 1.9 has added the D-Expedition or Fox and Maryland mode. And that was done specifically at the request of the Baker Island group. The KH1.
How does the Fox and Hound mode work?
Fox and Hound is the DX station is set up to run as Fox. They'll transmit, say on the low
And you
part.
have to go find it?
No,
No?
no, you don't have to go find them. It's not like Fox and Hound, you know, like the Fox thing.
Okay.
the Fox is down here in the lower part of the waterfall. All the responding stations are up in here. The big thing about it is Fox and House is the Fox can respond to 5 stations at a time.
Oh.
So they had effective Q rates before they went to Baker and test, before they went there and had some test weekends. They had effective effective Q rates of approaching 600 words or 600 Qs an hour in the tests prior to going to Baker Island. Baker Island, they logged over 24,000 FT-8 calls, FT-8 Qs. Working with FT-8 is pretty simple. Station requirements, you need a single sideband transmitter, transceiver. FT-8, like all the digital modes, will work upper sideband, no matter what band you're on. So it's if you're on 160, digital upper sideband, through 40, then when you get up above it, everything's upper sideband anyway. So all your digital modes run. There may be 1 or 2 exceptions, but I don't think there is. You need an antenna, you need a computer. Knowing us hams, they did throw this one in here, preferably built in the last 6 to 8 years, just for the processing power that's needed for this. It is available for Windows, for Linux. I know of several people that run it on Raspberry Pis in a Linux Rasputin build, and for the Mac. So your Mac OS units, and then obviously a monitor with 1024 by 780. It really looks nice. It really looks nice to have it on a 32-inch big screen. Then you get your computer to radio interface. Number of options there. The interface, the sound card interface that we use, your onboard sound card in the computer, such as the original Rig Blasters or Buxcom, or there's some home-built interfaces, but these are the early ones that were MFJ had some. So then the integrated sound card interfaces came out, which would be the Signal Link or the Time Wave Navigator, which is a very, very pricey unit.
Made in St. Paul, though.
But
Right?
it is, yeah. Randy likes his money, I'm sure. Or the Rig Blaster Advantage. Of the bunch that's listed, the Signal Link is the cheapest at around $120 with the cable and if you get the chip for the rig rather than putting junk wire. And most of the new transceivers that are being built today, I won't say all of them, but most of them have an onboard sound card on it. The 7300, which is sitting here, has the integrated onboard sound card, USB connectivity. One thing I didn't update is that now the TS-890 is becoming available. It will have it. So the 7300, the 7200, 7600, and 7610 from ICOM all have USB connectivity with the integrated sound card. The Yaesu has it on the DX3000. The Elecrafts on the K3S. And there may be others that have it. There's stuff coming on the market all the time. I can say that the popular FT-991 Yaesu unit and the FT-891 do not have USB connectivity, which is quite surprising. I didn't put them in there. But the software is going to be WSJTX. Like I said, right now, the very first one, as you scroll down the page, when you go to this website, is going to be version 1.9.1, which is the general availability, the full release of 1.9. Scroll a little bit further down the page, you get into version 2, and it's still in beta, but within December 10th is what it's supposed to be out. But you can use RC5, which they say is very stable and very close to being what the final release is going to be. Some of the changes that they're making won't affect FT-8. This is tidying up some things on some of the other modes. Another piece I strongly recommend if you're running in Windows is a piece called JT Alert X, and I'll show that briefly too. As an add-on, it really helps enhance and gives you more tools, including a little chat feature.
Especially nice if you're trying to get work to all states
Yeah.
on a mode.
Yep.
Because it will tell you when a station pops up
It will.
that you don't have.
Release, or version 2 of WSJTX has color coding
Yes.
with that kind of stuff in it now.
Right.
So they are expanding that. There's another one called JTDX, and I think there's another package that's out there. I can't remember what it is. Has built in the FT-8 because of the open source availability. One of the things they've done, the development team on WSJTX is, as they're working on version 2, they've given advanced copies of the open source software, the coding to the developers to JTDX and the other one, and I can't remember what it is. It's M something, and I can't remember what it is. They've given that to them because version 2.0 is changing the payload from a 75-bit payload that FT-8 runs under 1.9 to 77-bit. And they're doing that to give you more flexibility for contesting and compound call signs. You were limited to 13 characters under 1.9. It's going to be, I think, about 14 or 15 characters now. So just enough to give them more, and they also coded it so that things like contest exchanges take less than 13 because they're common. All right, this is the key to working any of these high precision digital modes, be it FT-8, anything. Your clock on your computer has to sync with the clock on the other end within less than 2 seconds. Anything after that, you're not going to decode, they're not going to decode. Okay? That's how tight the timing is on this.
It's not as bad as it sounds, though.
It's not as bad as it sounds. I've seen it 1.6, plus or minus 1.6, 1.7. After that, it does get shaky. And you can actually, on a waterfall, you can see it when somebody's that far off. Plus, I'll show it on the screen, that there is a column called DT in the display that's differential time, or deviation time, and it'll tell you how far apart you are on timing. But by installing, just if you run on Windows, the normal Windows go out once a week and check the clock. Doesn't keep it tight enough. You need to, you can either go in through the registry and change a parameter to actually pull it once every hour or whatever, or you can install one of these. Keep doing that. One of these packages, called the Network Time Protocol. I have Mindbird running on my computer. This is BKT Time Sync. Dimension 4 is another one that's pretty popular, and Time Sync. Most of these are freeware, and I can attest that in Mindbird, you download it, you run it, install, and it's running in the background. You don't have to touch it.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah.
Depends how sophisticated your setup is.
Right.
Like, I use GPS DO, so that's hardwired in. It's a little different deal.
It's a
But
little
if you're
different
just pointing Mindbird or Dimension 4 to an internet time server, you're good to go.
Yeah. And the best way to check that, anybody heard of the time.is website? You type in time.is, it goes out and checks against the time standards and tells you how close your computer is.
Yeah.
And if you're less than 3/10, or if you're in the tenths of a second separation, they'll tell you you're accurate. So,
But it's still kind of fun to ignore all that stuff and just go into your settings, once a day and click that time thing off and click it back on, and it goes
Yeah.
out and finds the correct time.
Yeah,
It's good for a day. You can see on the difference in the timings on DT, after you make that move. So
Yeah.
I kind of like, you know,
there,
get around.
there are ways to do it. You know, personally, I just let mine bird do it, and I don't have to mess with it.
That tip was in the latest QST, or maybe the last one.
I
Go
think
into
I saw that.
settings, you know, and just
Yeah.
turn the switch off and turn it back on, and then as soon as you turn it on, it goes out to one of these places and
Yeah.
resets your clock for you, Microsoft.
Most people that are on there are only within 0.1, 0.2 seconds off.
Yeah.
You know, when
Occasionally you see
that you
somebody that's
find,
one.
plus or minus.
You're getting up to, you know, maybe 2 seconds.
So whatever people are doing, they're adopting the same sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Everybody.
Probably Dimension 4 or something similar.
Yep. Now, if you're using a Mac or Raspberry Pi or something like that, this isn't a problem. It's a Windows issue only. So there's fodder for the Mac folks. So what we'll do, I'll jump out of this and we'll take a little quick look at FT-8 up in the operating. I brought the 7300 just so you can, just so I can run this, basically. And I'm actually going to launch version 2 so you can see that. And hang on a second, I get it. Since this is not my regular radio, I'm going to want to find a different port. There it clicked. All right, so this window here that we're looking at, and you're not seeing the whole thing. All right, let's do that. And I want to move this in. Okay, is that centered?
That's good.
All right. Okay, so this is this will be the primary window for running FT-8 and any WSJTX. Looks different for different modes, but it's pretty much the same control window. And this is your waterfall in the background. Now, normally I'm set up. I've actually got 3 different monitors that I'm running. I've got a 32-inch TV over here that I put the browser up, and I'm watching PSK Recorder. Up here is a regular monitor, and I'm running WSJT and JT Alert up there. The waterfall and the logbook are then open on the laptop screen. So that works for me. You can do it all in one. It's not as easy, but it's when you get that many monitors going, you get spoiled. That doesn't work, does it? So I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Just stretch and grow. All right, so for FT-8, because we don't have an antenna hooked up here, we're not getting anything. I would suspect it's good now. One of the things that I'll point out is that with version 2.0, you install version 2.0, and the waterfall is busy, but you're getting maybe 2 or 3 or 4 decodes. Don't worry. Just that means that there's only 2 or 3 or 4 people running 2.0. It won't decode 1.9 or earlier versions. Come December 10, 2.0 will be the de facto norm, and any of the version 2.0 release candidates will become inoperable on the 31st of December. But 1.9 will still be out there. The supposed 3Y0 India, Bouvet Island, the Polish group that's gathered down in South Africa right now, when they get to Bouvet, they're going to be running 1.9.1. So that's just because that's what they've had time to work with. Throwing a last-second new candidate in there is probably not a good idea for that. So, anyways, it's tough to see this as we got. I'll just kind of go over it. You're gonna some of the setup things that you want to do is obviously, you need to select the rig. The rig selection is actually quite extensive. ICOM, and it's got just about every common one that's out there, including some SDR type units too. The Elecrafts, of course, all the ICOMs, again the Kenwoods. You will see UHF and VHF rigs like the 9100 ICOM. Some just straight receivers, the R9000. Even the THF-6A is operating on that too, because of the fact that this all runs on there. So we're set for an IC 7300. The only one that isn't in 1.9 is the 7610. It is in 2.0, and it does come up here. These settings here you're going to set up according to your rig, your COM port, the baud rate, data bits and stop bits, handshakes. Be sure that your mode, if the rig calls for it and has the ability, you want to be in your data mode for your rig, which automatically puts it into the data mode. It will turn off filters and what have you, so any noise reduction type stuff that's in there. It also turns off the mic port on the ICOM. It turns off the front panel mic, because everything's coming into the USB, which is good. And then split operation, it works well. It's highly recommended that you run it in the fake it, which then actually does when it keys up the rig, on the 7300 here, I noticed it drops down. For instance, I'm at 7074. I can put it in fake it mode. It's actually transmitting at 7073.5, but the audio frequency is making the adjustment back to the frequency that he's looking for. So, depending on your audio input, you're going to set up your microphone and speaker. The 7300 has a built-in sound card, so you want to use the audio codec that's associated to that. The ability to set up some TX macros that you use not in the standard message variant, but there's some freeform that you can do that. There is some reporting capabilities here. PSK reporter, spotting, you can turn that on. I like to have the prompt me to log the QSO on, just so that I remember to log it. You can set it up to log automatically. I prompt because WSJTX is actually logging. If you're running through an outside logger, you're actually creating a log in 3 different places. So your external logger, be it, I'll use HRD logger, it could be N1MM, it could be AC log from N3FJB, whatever your favorite one is. DX Labs, it's the DX Labs suite. So you're getting that log there. There is a text file generated of all the decodes that's going on. WSJTX creates the text file. That becomes a very nice tool to go back to somebody if you're using EQSL, somebody saying, well, I got you in the log and sent in the QSL card. You go back and look, and he's not in your log, but you can look in that text and see, okay, yeah, we did have it, but we didn't complete it. Or we did, and I forgot to hit the OK. Something like that, Or I sent 7.3 and never did hear his 7.3. I usually don't worry about that. If I get a Roger, if we get the Roger back and forth, it's in the logbook for me. Some people are it's this, and it's got to have the 7.3 or I won't log it. It's just, personal choice. You're going to add some features. I clicked on the DB reports to comments, so that when you go to log it, it's putting the FT-8 sent and received reports in the comments, so that when you send it to them, not only are they getting the report under the official RST, that it's there too. And then I clear, this is the call, well, I'll show it to you. There's a box here for the call and another box that shows the grid. So when you log it, it'll clear that, flush it out, and you can go on. It's just, you do or don't, yeah, it's personal preference on that. It will, I'm not sure what that is. I don't use N1MM, so that's a feature that's built into N1MM, the Logger Plus broadcast. I'm not sure what that's related to. And frequencies, it comes with the standard frequencies already pre-programmed in there. You'll go into this and set up, if you're going to be running with a D-Expedition and chasing them in the Fox and Hounds mode, they will publish what frequency they're at. They're not going to be at, for instance, FT-8 on 40 meters is, the bulk of it is on 70-74. I think Baker ran it at 70-78. So you go in and you program that as your frequency, go into that and you select the Fox and Hounds mode, so now you're at 70-78 plus it's behaving the way it's supposed to be. It's looking for the Fox down 300 to 500, and your is sending your message up above 1,000 on the waterfall. You can set up colors. One of the things, if you're going back and forth between 1.9 and version 2 right now, the version 2 color settings do not hold. Because there's different things that you can turn on, and you can't do any changes on 1.9. It's just this, you can select the colors, but you can't select what it's telling you. This, we'll go to that. 2.0 has a whole bunch more. If anybody's seen that, so you can have all kinds of colors going on on your computer. They kind of look like that on the screen, but you can set up things like, of course, my call. You got a new continent, new DXCC, a new grid, a new call.
That's partially going to eliminate the need for
JT alert. JT alert, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing it does is it goes out and pulls this LOTW user activity file from the logbook of the world, and will tell you, if, flags you have to turn it on, but it does flag the call sign if the contact is a regular logbook of the world user, at least within the last year. They've posted a logbook, an update to the logbook of the world within the last year. Another piece that was in JT Alert is now going there. So
that's good though.
Yeah.
I make a comment about that screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you my recent experience. With my 7300 selected in that rig, it would never produce the audio. In other words, I'd go to transmit and I'd just hit the PTT, but nothing's coming out. So, I don't know if people know Bert Benjamin, WB01,
Yeah.
longtime contester.
Yeah.
He came over to pick up an antenna I was selling a couple months ago, and of course I would never charge Bert anything for what he taught me about radio and stuff. It was not a contest thing, but so he's hardcore FT-8 now. He just moved over to that from CW and stuff. It's great.
He's number 2 in Minnesota in the grid chase.
Yeah, he knows all the tricks. Well, so he came to get the antenna, and he reluctantly agreed to take it for free. And so I said, well, I'll show you my shack, and so we go down there and mentioned FT-8. And I was telling him, and he says, well, you got ham radio deluxe, don't you? And I say, yeah. He says, well, what you do is, one of the rigs in the rig selection is HRD,
Okay.
Ham Radio Deluxe.
Okay.
So I said, what you do is you put Ham Radio Deluxe controlling your radio,
And then you
minimize it.
and then
Then you go into this thing and you pick HRD as the radio,
Okay.
as opposed to the 7300,
Yeah.
that list, and it worked flawlessly. In 5 minutes, he had me on the air with FT-8 reliably 7300. It's a pretty neat trick, but you gotta own HRG, and I mean, I have the subscription service.
Yeah, so do I.
That works cool.
Yep. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, if you look on that, you know, they go down the rate list, HRG is on there
Okay,
as a rate.
okay, I'll have to look at that, and, that's, you know, well, I've used the 7300, two different ones on this laptop, and I've not had a problem with it, so.
Really?
I'll probably
Yeah.
just leave it alone, and, because it's
Of course,
working.
yeah, I have no clue why I wouldn't,
Yeah,
You're on the direct USB interface or through a,
yeah, following the rules.
Did you already have HRD running before you launched WSJTX?
Yeah, that's what you have to do. What you do is you.
So what
No,
happens
before.
is HRD takes over the cat control,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
taking over whatever.
WSJT can't get to it.
right?
were you,
No,
before you started using HRD,
yeah, I mean,
you didn't have HRD running, you were just using WSGT.
right, yeah.
There was something set up in your, and I couldn't tell you what it is without seeing it, but there was something not quite right
I agree.
in your radio setup, and usually it winds up being the baud rate.
Yeah,
The baud rate.
I went through all the goofy loops I
Yeah.
could come up with.
It usually ends up, in my experience, is it's been the baud rate that's,
Yeah,
19.2 is the one you want to be at
yeah,
for that, and then 8-bit and one stop bit,
yeah,
and no
right.
handshakes.
Well, it was,
And cat for the PTT method.
yeah, the PTT was working fine, it just
Okay.
wasn't taking any audio in.
Then the other thing to check would be the sound side of it,
Yeah.
your audio side, and you could actually, there's several places that you can check that. First of all, be in your connectors on the 7300, under your
Yeah,
setup menu.
right,
The
setup.
connectors, USB mod level,
Yeah,
that controls the volume that the modulation level
yeah.
that the rig is using. Second place to go would be into your Windows, the sound controls,
yeah,
under the USB audio codec. Then you can adjust those levels there too.
okay.
Do you,
So
you
there's-
run virtual audio cable though, don't you?
No, you don't need to do that on that.
No,
It's running the codec.
Well, you shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
running that on my Yaesu, which had equivalent trouble.
I've heard the Aces have been,
Yeah, they were
And-
flaky.
are
But when they work, they work.
different beast. When I was doing the introductions, I have a note on that very first slide is, I'm not an FT-8 expert. I enjoy doing it. I have fun doing it. I'm really, and this is open forum. I appreciate everybody's, input today. It makes the presentation that much better. But
That's how we roll.
it's and I encourage that. I'm just basically the guy who's put something together and will stand up in front of everybody and make the presentation. So, and every time I'm doing something like this, I learn something from somebody. And if you ever want to learn a subject and learn it well, stand up and teach it. That's a proven.
Never thought of that.
So, I don't know how well you can see it down here, but in this box we've got the DX call. This is the last contact I had, AA8WH. I didn't log him. We didn't make the connection, so it didn't clear this box because it didn't log. There's his grid, which you can't read, but it's Echo November 82. So if you're running if you're doing the international grid chase for another month yet, that's the piece of the puzzle there. And actually, you don't even need that because that's actually being derived in Logbook of the World between the PQSL certificates that are being used. So.
Yeah. What I like is the fact that, when you have duplicates, even though you try to avoid them as you're making QSOs, you can get duplicates because a log period overlaps and things.
Yep.
And you just say, no, I don't want the duplicates sent up. And so, you never get duplicates sent
Yeah.
up to Logbook of the World.
So there, that's the main window. Let me pull up the screen capture here.
Excuse me,
Yes.
would you like an antenna?
Yeah, that's the other thing, there's a couple things we neglected to tell you.
Well, if you got some way that we can hook up, where we can actually see what's happening,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
We have a minute or so here.
That's right.
That's what I was gonna say, I'm gonna write up a little short list for presenters. Just thinking there's 3 or 4 things that we don't tell people that would be nice to know. And having an antenna here is one of them.
Yeah, who does Buckingham Radio Club would have an antenna?
Second thing is we know everything, and you have to know that when you come and present something
I was actually surprised he wasn't picking anything up just on this.
on the dummy list.
It's too shielded. We were doing Thursday night in Stillwater, we were doing kind of a hands-on drill down type thing. We had 2 rigs, one in the back of the room, one up front. We wound up having to loosen the barrels.
They wouldn't talk.
They couldn't hear each other. It was too shielded between the dummy loads, so you had to loosen the barrels up on the dummy load, get them off just have the bayonet in there. And that opened it up enough so that we could at least talk back and forth. We were only 20 feet apart. I'm glad I got the bigger room that night because we were in the small conference room. We'd been...
We had a guy do a whisper presentation, and he says on his dummy load he was talking to New Zealand.
At home, I always let me shut this.
Probably a heat kit dummy load. A little leaky.
That got me thinking. Huh. I mean, I've worked all, or not worked, gotten to all 7 continents. When I got to Antarctica earlier in the year with that research vessel that went down there, that did that on 0.2 of a watt, as I've said. But I guess if you ran 10 watts into a dummy load, you could probably go pretty far to a whisper.
Yeah, Whisper.
Especially if it was on your roof.
Whisper is amazing.
Your dummy load on your roof?
Yeah.
Whisper is amazing. I can tell you a story about that later. Afterwards, I'll show some screenshots. We did an antenna shoot out this summer
Whisper's cool.
in Stillwater, so we can talk about that. So this is a screen grab I did earlier this year. Let's see, that would be September 14th. So as you can see here, we got a variety of colors showing up here. The green are stations that I haven't worked and logged yet. I don't know what you call that.
Purple?
Magenta. Fuchsia, yeah.
You're outside the man palette.
That's a new DXCC. The new DX entity that I haven't logged.
Okay.
And the red ones are showing up with my call sign in it. This happens to be VP-8 LP. Who knows where VP-8 is? No. No. VP-8 is Falkland Islands.
Oh.
So this is VP-8 LP. I got all excited. Oh, I got Falkland Islands. The guy refuses to log to confirm electronically.
Oh, jeez.
He says it's too much work. You want a confirmation? Send me the EQS or send me the QSL card. Digital confirmation is too much work. Figure that out.
Not an unusual problem.
Yeah.
With DX.
Anyways, this is pretty much a screen grab. Now that we have an antenna, what is the? Is it a wire or?
Anything, 40
Okay.
through 10.
Okay. How's it work with a tuner? Will I need a tuner on it? Probably, huh?
40,
Yeah, just
40
tune it.
might be a tough
FT-8, you don't need a tuner, come on.
I'll show this one too. Did they make up who the QSO is with on that one? Can you see that?
Red on black, the black
Red on
one,
black.
that's tough.
K1JT,
K1JT.
talking to the man himself.
What's that one there?
How'd you manage that?
I don't know. He popped up one day and I saw it and I gotta get that one.
No, I read where he's so well known that it's hard for him to get on because it creates a pile, right?
And this was September 2nd, so they were still just starting to tinker with version, well,
I
they're
figure
probably,
either doesn't get on very much or he's on in the middle of the night or something.
yeah, this is, 12:27, so there was like,
When my memo was on the CW contest last weekend.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna open up with 1.9 because there we will see activity if we're tuning.
All the stubborn old men that won't change over.
Right. Let's jump here to the waterfall. Why am I not getting anywhere? Not even seeing anything. Doesn't like to tune.
Yeah, try 20.
I'm not even hearing it.
No.
There you go.
There we got it.
I nailed it. So a lot of people are saying this is your new beacon mode. So
Yes,
the 70,
very much.
74, and you can tell 40's open.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely true.
Because there's just so many people using it.
I always have the whisper band report up anyway, and so I'm
There's
looking
that-
at
that
what
one
the
too.
propagation's looking like. But
Not wanting to tune. So
About right for
this is the
the time,
waterfall. I've got mine expanded out a little bit. Typically, the waterfall is, most of the activities in the zero to 2,500 to maybe 3,000. I've got my timing set. There's some controls which I've turned off here. There's ways to save space. I'll go back here to the main one. You turn off menus, well, that changes your display. So now you got a little more room to work with. Another thing you can do is, so you see everything coming in right now. We're decoding everything that's coming in. The magenta you can see there is one I haven't worked yet. The green ones, some people call them CQ. Now, if you want to, if BAM is really busy, it's very easy to fill the whole decode window up, and then some. And that one that you wanted to work, that magenta one, or that purple new DXCC that scrolled by way up on top, you got to go back and find it. If you turn on CQ only, down here in the corner you can't see.
There you go.
If you turn on CQ only, see what happens? We're just getting the stations calling CQ.
they just add that?
No,
Oh, it's in
It's been there.
1.9?
yes,
This
that's
is
what's
1.9.
where I'm running 1.9 now.
Okay.
You should, let's look at the waterfall here again, let's see what's going on. We're getting decodes. I'll turn it off so you can see full band activity. So 1.9 is, everybody's, the
Got
codes
a
we're getting are
stone
down below 2,000, which is what they want right now.
Sweden.
Yep. Above it, with two versions going right now. Version 2.0, they recommended that you run at 2,000 and above on your waterfall. And try to keep the 1.9 down below that. Now, that isn't always the practice. You still see 1.9 up there and above, and you see some,
Yeah, I was this morning.
you don't notice it, but
Joe,
it's there. I was too, I was getting confused this
what's
morning.
the green progress bar telling us? It's down at the very bottom.
That's the timer.
Okay.
So this is saying, this is where it's at approximately in the 15 seconds. If you look down here, and there's a timer count off down here.
Okay.
So the 15 second, shrink this down a little bit more.
You
Or
want
shrink this down a lot more.
You
because
want
we
to
wanna bring
explain
that-
even odd?
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Cool.
All right, that other program that just came up there is WST, or the JT Alert, which is kind of going to be, well, it's not really going to go obsolete because they're just adding some of the features of it. It's an add-on that gives you, there's an Alaska. Well, that's one thing that'll fool you though. JT Alert and WSJTX don't know that KL7 might be in Maryland.
Yeah.
They're just going by the
Number.
the KL7, the KL in front of it, so it'll come up and say, hey, there's Alaska, and the guy's in Maryland. Had that happen a couple of times.
So they're not correlating on current grid square yet.
It's just the data, just calling off the call sign.
They
database.
probably will eventually.
Let's see here. The TX even, okay, so we're talking a 15-second pulse. It will start at the 0 point. Actually, 2 milliseconds delay is what my computer set up. So it transmits, when it's TX even, you're transmitting at 0 and 30. If you don't have have the TX even off, then it's transmitting in the 15 and 45 second slots. Okay, everybody got that? You understand that? So TX even first is when it's going to call in the even slots first. A couple of other settings here when you're working.
So before you go too far from that, why would you want to do that?
It's another way of
Control.
slicing and dicing the band up.
Yep.
Really is all it is.
And everybody's just randomly picking that?
Yes.
Why I mentioned it is because for newbies, you don't pay too much attention to it, and you can call CQ and no one comes back. But if you flip that to the other slot, then all of a sudden it works. And that's because of when people are listening, right?
Yeah.
The correlation to when they're listening. So just a thing to know.
Yes, I think and there's really there's no rules or guidelines as to what to do when. That's your choice. When you're running, when you're calling CQ, when you're running instead of search and pounce, you want to have this call first selected. What that will do is, as you're calling CQ, somebody comes back to you with their grid square. Your call sign, their call sign, grid square will be the answer back. The first one, if you get multiples coming back, the first one that it decodes, that the software decodes, will be the contact that it's going to be working with. The thing you want to have selected is auto sequence. You cannot keep up with FT-8.
No.
You cannot. You have about 2 seconds to decide who you're going to. Most people, it takes a few seconds to process it, and then they start transmitting maybe 3 seconds into it, and it's still enough that they can see that somebody's answering it, or they might even get a decode on it. So,
Let it do it.
or not, they hit it the next cycle. It's all automatic.
Right.
Some of the slower modes, you can leave the auto sequence off. JT65, you got a 15-second window to pick that person you're gonna answer.
So, Joe, question?
Yeah.
If I understand this correctly, is this scenario possible? You set it up to only show stations calling CQ. You've got all these other buttons set. You go away and you come back in an hour, and you have now made contact with 100 people. It's all logged, it's all done. You have to physically tell it you want to talk to that station.
If you're answering a CQ station, if you're answering a CQ, you have to pick that station.
Okay.
And you have to enable transmit between QSOs so it's legal. Otherwise, it would be unattended.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It'll actually shut off the transmitter after a while.
There is a
It's got
transmit
timeout.
timeout. If you're calling CQ, it's got a watchdog on it. So and you can set that. The default is 6 minutes. It'll do that. There is a way to disable it. There's a checkbox that says disable TX after 7.3. Leave it checked. Don't uncheck it. I wish they would just take it out.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for it. At least at FT-8. Maybe there isn't some other modes, but in FT-8, don't uncheck that box. That's under your settings. I'm not going to show you where it is. You're going to have to find it.
A little bit of effort is what makes it fun. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was automatic like Whisper,
Yeah.
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 so what? right?
It does make it fun.
Pretty soon,
Yes, if
we
you're
won't
calling,
need- We won't need hands, we'll just need the computer and the radio.
And some
if
AI.
you're calling CQ, if you're calling CQ, well, I'll finish this and I'll go back to what you just said. If you're calling CQ and you're in the, calling CQ and cycling, and you're doing something else, this is a nice thing, so you can multitask. So you're calling CQ and let it go, you gotta run upstairs for something, or you gotta, you're thirsty, you need to go get a glass of water or something. You can go back, and when you come back, you're likely to have somebody you've had the conversation, and it's just sitting there waiting for you to log the queue so.
Yeah.
And then you gotta go back and tell it to enable the TX.
That's really nice,
Yep.
especially if you want to take a bathroom break in the middle of a queue.
So there's a meme floating around in the Facebook and what have you, and, it's a picture of Charlie Brown and Snoopy sitting on the end of the dock. And, it's something to the effect of Charlie's asking Snoopy, so how's this FT-8 going? And Snoopy's answering, my computer's making contacts right now. They're sitting on it, so that, it's kind of funny, but, any questions on what we're seeing here? Some of the things that I like that, JT Alert gives you, and we're not connected to the internet, so I'm not connected to the internet, so I'm not getting it. But it will display, if you hover over the, and if you're using JT Alert, by the way, there is a switch to turn this on if you don't have it. That's their bands up there. So it tells you who's on the activity on the bands. Right now, 40, 20, depending on the time of day. 40 is usually pretty good. Looks like 20 is going to be up there right now. So it'll tell you there's, let's say 600 stations transmitting and there might be 800 listening. Long numbers. You will so that the blue boxes are FT-8, as you can see here. JT65 and JT9. I've rarely seen anybody running JT9. If you see anybody in JT65, it might be one station transmitting and two listening. It's very, very minimal right now, because everybody's gone to FT-8, which is, in essence, a faster version of JT65. 1.5 minutes to run that queue versus 6 minutes.
It's a lot of fun with 6 meters being there, because given what 6 meters is, you can really make some long distance contacts when 6 is open, right? But the fun of it is that it's usually not open, right? In the summer even, so it's a hell of a lot of fun just chasing stuff like that. So as usual, the array of ham bands we have really make the whole thing much more interesting.
I was listening to the ARR audio news on the way over here this afternoon, and they had a report that the people running FT-8 were even reporting that even now, they were talking about propagation in the 10-meter weekend coming up next weekend, 10-meter ARR 10-meter contest. 160s this weekend, so
Yeah.
10 meters next weekend. They were talking that people running FT-8 are reporting even now occasional daytime 6-meter openings.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing. You'd never be able to work that voice.
no, and without something like this and reporting to BSK Reporter or Ham Spots or somewhere like that, without that information, this is another tool that it's given us. That, like somebody said, this is today's beacons. The CW beacon is still out there, but this is much more reliable because there's much more activity on it, so everybody's seeing it much better. Another thing that's nice, if you hover over here, and you can also open these up as separate windows. But when you're working a contact, it will tell you. If you hover over that arrow there, it'll say, okay, this guy you confirmed him on 40, and now this is a new band on 20. You've confirmed him. If you just worked him, it'll say worked. Just some of the features. You can set sounds. If I really wanted to, I run the sounds off because it gets annoying. Because it's always, every time somebody says CQ, the CQ is going to say CQ, and that's every time the screen pops up. It says CQ. But there are some alarms you can set. There's some ways to set up wanted grids and states and things like that. That you have to set that up manually. You have to, so it takes some time to enter that data.
Still trying to get Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa on 20 is all I need.
That's the one I need for
That's all I
workload
need,
states.
is Iowa.
Yeah. It's tough from here, strangely
All right,
enough.
I'm gonna turn that off because what happens is FT-8 keeps looking for signals. Keeps running the 15-second cycle and keeps overtaking my screen, so learned that the hard way. Yeah, we'll go back. Any questions on where we're at right now? Do I have a time on it? 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Why did it go all the way back? Where was I?
There you go. Thank you there.
Oh, yeah, we'll go back here. Timing, okay, we'll look at it. So, there's 2 FT-8 exchanges. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. There's 2 FT-8 exchanges. They're called the standard and short form. And it all has to do with the sequencing of your Roger Roger or Roger Roger 73. And you'll see it here. So, so I'm going to be calling CQ with my grid square EN34. Somebody's going to come back to me now. Last weekend I was using this, I did this, or earlier this month I did this at Stillwater, and everybody knows that W0XB does not do digital. So that, I tried to pick somebody that, but I couldn't pick on Bob because he does digital, so. Anyway, so he's going to come back with the W0XB EN34 back at me. I will then give him a signal report. So when the station's answering you, your call sign is going to be first. Their call sign is going to be second. When you're answering back, it flips. All right, and that's done automatically. Signal report is derived. It's pulled right out of the software. There's no interaction. You don't need to put anything in there. You don't need to do 599 or, it's all automated. The signal report is the signal to noise ratio. These 3 dB below the noise floor. Your noise floor. For the most part, your noise floor. There is some hard coding that establishes a point for that noise floor, but I heard that in a Tapper presentation earlier that I listened to earlier. So I'm going to answer back with a Roger, meaning I got it recorded, and you're 1 dB over. Or he sent back. I replied with the -3. He said, okay, Roger, +1. I replied back, Roger, Roger, Roger. And this is all automated. There's standard messages, they're called. And then we get the 7-3. All right, so as you can see, start to finish, 15, 30,